In certain parts of the world, the only thing local inhabitants know about Americans is that, on occasion, they arrive in ships several times larger than the local capital city and spend more in a few hours than a local inhabitant sees in a year. Cruise ships are massive. They have multiple pools, saunas, fitness facilities, casinos. They carry enough passengers to consume 20,000 pounds of beef, 28,000 eggs, 8,000 gallons of ice cream, and 18,000 slices of pizza per week. Ships with all that stuff can't fit in harbors like Point de Galetz and Fremantle. They need to drop anchor a mile away so their bottoms don't scrape, then use separate, smaller boats to come ashore. And when the smaller boats finish unloading, scores of plump, pasty Americans with their sun visors and their rubber sandals and their noses coated with unblended sunscreen invade the local shops and eateries, expecting everyone to speak English, act polite, and accept U.S. currency. Here's what locals in certain parts of the world think of Americans. They're all rich, but none of them work. Most are white and old and married, but few have children. They all drink too much and order more food than they can eat, and only purchase items of absolutely no practical value. If all you ever knew about Americans came from observing their behavior on cruise ships, then you wouldn't know very much about Americans. But you could learn something about every culture on Earth by working just 28 days aboard a cruise ship, all without ever stepping foot on foreign soil. Take the Princess II, for example. I met a Dutch pool cleaner wearing a shirt that said, "Wir wollen ersten Vratic Gezerk" or something, written over a soccer ball. Translated, that's, "We want our bicycles back." The pool cleaner explained that this was in reference to the Nazis' final and brutal retreat through the Netherlands near the end of World War II. It was my father's, he told me, from the 1974 World Cup. A joke. I asked him what made it funny, and he said, well, for one, since the Nazis took so much more than bicycles, and for two, since we Dutch are so very crazy for bicycles. Also, it is written in German. German, I asked. Why not Dutch? And at this, he smiled and said, so the German fans could read it. There was another pool worker, a guy from Honduras, whose job was to bring Technicolor drinks around on a silver tray. He told me and some other workers a story about the first time he saw a cruise ship on the Honduran island of Rotan. I saw a local boy, maybe 7 or 8, he said. He was selling local currency, what we call lempira, to American tourists for $1 a pop. Do you know what 1 lempira was worth at the time? Not even 3 American cents. I'm standing on deck, watching this boy, and I get to thinking to myself, born anywhere else, this boy would lead an empire. But in Rotan, he didn't even have shoes. A car dealer from Hong Kong replied, on that day, in that boy's market, 1 lempira was worth $1. I had to agree with both men, and with so many more on so many different things. We had a chef from Belize, a juggling act from Japan, an Argentine casino boss, and waiters from 52 separate countries, a third of which I couldn't pronounce. They spoke Spanish, French, Mandarin, German, Dutch, Italian, Creole, Russian, and a bunch of other languages just like Russian that really weren't for some reason. They spoke Montreal French that people from France made fun of, describing it to me, in between cigarette puffs, by saying, imagine you walk into a room where everyone, they are speaking Shakespearean English, full of thou arts and shalts. That would be crazy, no? Indeed, I said, it would. Well, that would be Montreal French. Crazy. What was even crazier to me was that everyone on the ship spoke English, and the only thing crazier than that was the ship's captain, an Aussie named Barley Mousterian, who'd been at sea, in one way or another, for over a decade. The way I met Captain Mousterian almost got me killed, I think. Having gotten it in his head that there was a stowaway aboard the Pacific Princess II, lurking about in the middle of the night, stealing from people's rooms and eating food from his galley, Captain Mousterian stopped me in the hallway outside his cabin and produced a pistol, even though I was pushing a vacuum cleaner and wearing my baby blue crew uniform with my pinned-on name tag. Seeing that pistol enter my line of vision, I looked up in time to catch the last part of whatever he'd been saying and read his lips as best I could above my earphones and the vacuum cleaner's growl. Aye, looky here, Captain Mousterian's lips seemed to say. His gun made me stop, but not out of fear. The weapon looked so old that at first I thought Captain Mousterian had brought it out from his cabin to show off like an antique. Plus, nothing about his smile seemed threatening. So I stepped on my vacuum's off switch and, as its motor wound down, yanked both earbuds out of my ears by their cords and pressed the stop button on my Walkman's tape deck. Captain? I asked. Seems I found us our stowaway, he said, and then, suddenly serious, get in there. He motioned with his pistol towards his cabin, clonked the barrel against my head to get me moving. Go, he said. In with ya. What you've got to understand about Captain Mousterian was that he'd always had this thing for pirates. To hear Captain Mousterian explain it, pirates never ceased to exist. They'd only been forced from certain waters. the Caribbean, the British Isles, most notably. But piracy went on, unabated, along the South American coasts, between the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and, as it most concerned Captain Mastarian, between South Africa and Australia. From personal experience, I can tell you that pirates, real pirates, are mean, violent, uneducated criminals no different from back alley muggers, aside from the boats. But as far as Captain Mastarian was concerned, these weren't real pirates, no matter that they were the only ones he'd ever run across. No, Captain Mastarian called these pirates modern pirates. The pirates of storybooks, on the other hand, the ones romanticized over the years as clever, courageous, swashbuckling anti-heroes, full of spirit and never at a loss for witticisms, well, those pirates, Captain Mastarian referred to them as the true pirates of the past, and he loved them. After presenting all his proof for me being the ship's stowaway, namely that the Pacific Cruises would never hire an American for a cruise to Australia, no American would work aboard a cruise ship, and so on, Captain Mastarian invoked what he called a time-honored punishment of the high seas, a punishment for which, like his true pirates of the past, there has never existed empirical proof. Captain Mastarian said I'd have to walk the plank. I tried all rational arguments, offered to produce my official paperwork, only to hear, paperwork? Mate, even I can fake paperwork. How else you think they let a boozer like me captain a ship full of all these nice people? And all I could do was stammer through the same things I'd already said. I almost tried telling the truth when an idea popped into Captain Mastarian's head. He said, I'll tell you what, though. Perhaps we can strike a deal. You're the head barman, I was about to say the carpet and toilet cleaner for this floor, but instead I finished, yes, I am indeed. All right, then, Captain Mastarian said, stroking what he had of a beard that never grew all the way in. Here 'tis. You make me the best drink I've ever had, and I'll let you stay. Agreed? That's it? I asked. The best drink you've ever had? That's right. Best overall or best tasting? I asked, and he laughed. Well, dunno, mate. I reckon any punter can make it tasty. And piss weak. That's not the trick now, is it? I had to agree. Okay, I said, so, what do I have to work with? What liquors or... What liquors? Captain Mastarian shrugged. Why, any liquor in the world. Use whichever you like. No, I assumed that. I said, what liquors do you have? Captain Mastarian looked at me like I was crazy. I told you. Any liquor you can find in the world. Now get on with it. He motioned with his gun, but I just kept staring at him. The world, I asked. That's right, he said. The world. The world. The bloomin' world. I don't get the problem. And then I remembered I was dealing with a very intoxicated man here. And what's more, doing so while sober. I might as well have been speaking another language. So I backed up and set about deciphering the crux of our misunderstanding, which was this. Captain Mastarian kept his liquor in a huge globe set in a 3-foot stand in the corner of his cabin. The globe looked like a soft-boiled egg in a shot glass. You spun Greenland around to the front and popped the northern hemisphere back, and voila! Bottles of liquor at the Earth's core. Every liquor in the world. The only problem was someone had raided the global liquor cabinet. Judging by the empty bottles of Belvedere, Jose, Jack, Quarco, Grenadine, and something called Black Dick rum, he'd been at it for quite a while now, too. The only ingredients left in the world? RC Cola, Crown Royal whiskey, and Thunderbird. I remember opening that globe and looking at Captain Mastarian, but his eyes had no sympathy for what I had to work with. I remember muttering to myself aloud, well, so much for salvation coming from within, eh? And then I got down to mixing. I mixed the RC Cola, Crown Royal, and Thunderbird in 3 equal parts because, hey, why not? I doubted Captain Mastarian could taste the difference much anyways. I just measured them out. Equal, equal, equal. And I want to stress that it wasn't on purpose that I chose to make that egalitarian cocktail the way I did, no matter what legends people have attached to the drink during its rise to global popularity, thanks to my dad's chain of bars. But the drink did have what I describe as unforeseen synergies. It blended the sweetness of RC Cola with the smoothness of Crown Royal, and topped it all off with the delicate lemon-lime bouquet of America's favorite fortified wine, Thunderbird, the wine of winos. I made one drink in a rocks glass, or as it's been known ever since the sanitation project, I guess an ice glass, and held it out to Captain Mastarian, who eyed it suspiciously. Here, I said. Wait, Captain Mastarian cocked his head. You're not having one. No, it's all you. I wiggled the glass a bit, making noise with the ice, but Captain Mastarian squinted, saying, if you're not having any, how do I know it's not poisoned? My jaw relaxed a bit. Christ, even if I'd have made one for myself, how would you know I'd not poisoned yours anyway? Captain Mastarian's eyes got wide. That's a fair point, he said, nodding towards the glass in my hand. You take a sip of that first, you bastard. What? Get on with it. He motioned with his pistol. Drink. No, I can't. I gave it up. Gave what up? Captain Mastarian scowled. Drinking, I said. And Captain Mustarian's face went very serious at that. He took a half step towards me, cocking his gun. Wait, I said. No, I meant, for Lent. I gave up drinking for Lent. Captain Mustarian eased back from me, uncocking his gun. For Lent, he asked. I could tell he was thinking, calculating in his head, trying to remember what day it was, or what month. Yes, I said, Lent. Greek Lent, I added, and then just to make sure I'd chosen an obscure enough holiday, Turkish Orthodox. Captain Mustarian lowered his weapon. Greek Lent, eh? He asked with a raise of his eyebrows. Yep, I said. Turkish Orthodox. Uh-huh, that's right. Captain nodded, then shrugged. All right, but we're checking with Kagate tomorrow, he said, poking his pistol into my chest. Don't you let me forget. And with that, he took the glass, raised it, made a silent toast, and bam, back went his head, his chin pointed towards the ceiling. One gulp, empty glass. We never checked with Kagate. However, there was a Greek Orthodox church you might call Turkish. The Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople is one of the 15 autocephalous Eastern Orthodox churches. Not that Kagate was a member. He was actually a Turkish Jew. But still, it goes to show how much you can learn about the world from the crew of a cruise ship. In any case, Captain Mustarian loved my drink. Not only did he insist that I stay aboard, but he went one further. He promoted me to his personal assistant. Like first mate, I asked? No, that's the bloke that makes the ship work. Bloody hell. First mate? No, first mate's gotta know how to steer. He'll be more like, He drummed his fingers on the table. Shit, I don't know. It's a gammon job, mate. A gammon job. Gammon job. That meant he just made it up. You know, you'll whip up some brekkie, fix me a drink when a drink's in order. He drummed some more. Sharpen my sword. Sounds like I'll be your bitch, I said. Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you, you Yanks got a word for everything. This, I'd learned from my multicultural crew and from my subsequent travels, was far from the truth. You'll be my bitch. But no, can't call you that. He looked down, rubbing his chin. What should we call you? Oh, it doesn't matter. He waved it off. Hey, tell me this, though. What is it you call that lovely drink? My face tightened as I thought it over, but then my whole body relaxed. As soon as I remembered the ingredients, there was only one name for what I'd mixed, equal parts RC Cola, Crown Royale, and Thunderbird. Wow, I call that a Flying King. Over the next few weeks, I made many more Flying Kings for Captain Mustarian, far more than I can remember. By the time we got to Australia, or as he called it, Oz, I would learn exactly how annoying a drunk maniac can be when you're sober. That, and I'd learn everything Captain Mustarian could remember about living back on land in Australia, which was all stuff I'd rather not have known about before having to swim there.